Doctor Who runner and star clapped back at the haters of the new special. Doctor Who made some fans angry by striving to be more welcoming, but those involved are more willing to defend the show's new direction. Of course they are, because, well, first of all, that's what they're being paid to do, so they have to. This was published by Dan Conlin, and this was 2 days ago. It's at the GameRant.com. There's our Rose. Doctor Who is the latest franchise to prove that the angry boys come out when something changes in a nerd thing. Am I a nerd then? Well, must be. Things have changed substantially in the newest iteration of the British Powerhouse series, despite much of it returning to its roots. Well, if you're returning to the roots, you have to go all the way back to classic, and that means undoing the timeless child crap. So the mobs have arrived, but the folks involved are not having it. The first of the Doctor Who anniversary specials aired over last weekend, and it pulled no punches with its messages. Doctor Who has always been particularly forward with its statements on morality and such. That's true. The first transgender character, with Rose Noble, played by Heartstopper actress Yasmin Finney, offering extremely welcome representation for a group who has historically seen plenty of discrimination in the UK and still does. True. The character's identity is important and integral to the story. No, it's not. Naturally, such welcoming vibes were abridged too far for a certain section of the audience. Now, I'm going to disagree. It is here. The identity was not important to the plot. It was not integral to the story. It wasn't. That was Russell T Davis, trying to force something unnaturally into the story, and it didn't fit. The binary situation, binary to non-binary, made absolutely no sense because Rose is she's not non-binary, right? That's what we were told, right? Have I got that right? I mean, I must be thick if I didn't get that right. Viewers angry at the idea of trans people existing have been review bombing. No, it's not review bombing. Okay, not everyone is angry at the idea of trans people existing. Trans people exist. It is a fact of life. I had a trans teacher, and she was one of the best teachers I had ever had. Did it matter to me that she was trans? No. Absolutely not. Did it make me think that I should go and trash her lessons? No, it did not. Her gender identity did not influence my learning at all. It was not a subject of the classroom. Wasn't anything like that. Much different compared to today. You know, and she transitioned just before I joined the school, and it was in 1998. So this is going back a while ago, before it was cool to be trans. So she is one of the early transsexuals. However, showrunner Russell T Davis, Finney herself taking a bit of high road with their responses. Of course they will. They have to defend it. It's going to be part of their job. Speaking with the BBC behind the scenes show Doctor Who Unleashed, Davis preemptively reacted to the hate by explaining exactly why it's important to ingrain acceptance of something you've never seen before. This is not the case, though. There are loads of people who know that trans people exist, and there are trans characters that are on screen. I will reiterate this time and time again. I am nearly always up, in casting roles against transgender women, and I don't know any different. It has always been like that for a long time, ever since I entered the acting world. And to people who are, when they were young, to combat prejudice before it can become a problem. As a popular family program, Doctor Who is an excellent medium to help foster that acceptance. Actually, I disagree. I actually think soap operas would be better for that. I genuinely do, because they can actually go ahead and they can address the issues that you have to go into and look into as well. On the surface, it may seem that Doctor Who is the place for it, but Doctor Who isn't a soap opera. At least last time I checked, it wasn't a soap opera. And then it got this massive quote here: homophobia and transphobia happens when it's something you've never seen before. You can temper that reaction and change it when you introduce these images to people happily and normally and calmly when they are young. Then it just becomes normal. Now, in many respects, that's a very well-reasoned comment in many respects. But it's how you do it. And how you did it on the screen is not how you introduce it calmly. And then, of course, you know, Finny has to share her own opinion on it. But I actually just want to draw your attention to this comment here, which is, I think representation is so important. This is why they've put it in big, because this is the most important comment that she's made. And if I had Rose growing up, it would be a completely different story, I think. I think representation is what we need, and what younger generation needs to feel like they can do it too. You know? Right, let's get into a topic that really is a bugbear of mine. Transitioning minors. Donna never met Sean in the 2008 series. Okay, she does not marry him until I think it's like 2010. So at most, Rose would only be, say Rose was born in 2011. Then she would be what? 2011, 2012? She would be like 10, 11, maybe even 12 at the most, right? Okay. Now that, obviously, is not a good thing to really depict. And RTD basically went to hell with the timelines. Screw the timelines. I'm making Rose 15. Why do you think he made Rose 15? Because a lot of people frown upon the transitioning of minors. Now, a lot of people approve of it as well. But I strongly hate the transitioning of minors. I genuinely do. So that brings me to a tweet made by Space Crafting. Okay. Space Crafting says 20-year-old man, Yasmin Finney, and why his playing a 15-year-old trans character in Doctor Who is important. It's worth bearing in mind what exactly he thinks it empowers the younger generation to do. Such representation adds another source of validation those youngsters delusion, alongside TikTok and Jeffrey Marsh. Hey kids. There is now Doctor Who. If it tells them to expect nothing more than total unquestioning support from their parents, it leads them down a medical pathway through drugs and with known side effects, all the way to horrific, life-ruining surgery. And and I was quite pleased to see this tweet. I wasn't pleased about the misgendering of Yasmin, because she has made that decision to transition. However, I was pleased to see it. And the reason why I was pleased to see it is because I really disapprove of transitioning of minors. And when I made a tweet about it, someone said, well, you know, you can socially transition minors, you freak. So, you know, obviously that's clearly a trans activist there, speaking right out there. And actually, I say that you can't because I think it would potentially have a lot of negative impact on the child. And so I did a bit of research on socially transitioning, and I came up with early onset gender dysphoria, which really they couldn't find a definition for, even though, it would be early onset gender dysphoria. And then there was rapid onset gender dysphoria. Early and late onset gender dysphoria. This is the bit I want to focus on, not the rapid onset gender dysphoria, because that's more common in adults. Traditionally, 2 forms of gender dysphoria have been recognised. The first is early onset, which appears in childhood. Okay, and this is why I disagree with the social transition of minors coming up. For instance, a boy may prefer the company of girls and play activities typical of that gender. Likewise, a girl may prefer hanging out with the boys and doing boyish things. You get a baby, all right, and this baby can be a boy or a girl, doesn't matter which baby. You put that baby. It just means that that baby wants to play with that toy. For example, a boy preferring the company of girls, well, maybe that boy just likes hanging around with girls because he gets on better with them. Doesn't mean to say that he's trans. I dropped a frame there. How many frames was that? So, it doesn't mean to say... So what I was saying before I dropped a frame, the boy may prefer the company of girls. Well, maybe that's just because he just prefers hanging around with girls and he gets on better with girls. Myself, I would usually hang around with boys. That doesn't make me trans. Never made me trans. I never questioned my gender. I just got on better with men. And to this day, I still get on better with men. Yeah, I have friends that are girls, but I still get on better with men. Majority of my friends are men. And then it goes on to say, such children are often teased as sissies and tomboys. They maintain their transgender identity into childhood. Do they? Some of them might. But have you ever considered the fact that the possibility that those people that you're talking about might just be gay? But no, because they prefer to hang out with girls, they are trans, and the other way around. Go figure. I mean, it's a silly argument. It's a silly argument. This is why you shouldn't show socially transitioned children, because at that age, they don't really know. And yeah, they may get teased, but that's just bullying. And that needs to be clocked on the head. Bullies suck. And then, of course, they talk about late onset gender dysphoria. So it also says many of them cross-dress or seek gender-affirming surgery and live their lives as member of the opposite sex. I typed that in onto Google and I was like, how many people seek gender transition because of childhood? And this is what I pulled up. Now, put in numbers on the rise in children seeking gender care. And I'm just looking at the dates, though. 2022, 2020, 2022, 2022, 2018. That's pretty much where everything started. And if you just go down, the earliest really that I could find with this on quote unquote on the rise, if I go down and see if I can find it, was 2016. 2016? Yeah, 2016 with this article from the BBC right here. And it's the number of children referred to the NHS with gender identity issues has increased dramatically in recent years. Now, of course, there's been a boom. Why? Because of social media, TikTok. Particularly in the last 5 years. If you're doing this, then you are trans. If you do this, then you are trans. If you do this, then you're non-binary. indoctrination is a very real thing. And yes, I do agree that children, if they are questioning their identity, maybe, a form of intervention such as counselling, talking through things, being taught how to understand that they have biological sex, being taught all of that, being taught to understand it, not just saying, no, you are trans because of this, then maybe they will feel a lot better. But if children are transitioning, we're going to see a lot of detransitioners. There's going to be a boom of detransitioners because they realised that they questioned their gender too early and they sought medical intervention too early, which is a very real thing. Jazz Jennings, I think, even though Jazz Jennings is not detransitioning, she can't really detransition now. But she's a very good example of something like that. I think she's a very good example. I don't think when I've seen, no, she may be happy, but I don't think when I've seen pictures and clips of Jazz Jennings on the screen, I don't think she's particularly happy, if you want me to be honest with you. She was socially transitioned, and she was socially transitioned in front of the world with her reality show. And look what it's done. Yeah, I don't think she's happy. So, and then you see all of these other parents with the transitioning children, socially transitioned. There's one dad, I can't remember the name of the channel. There's one dad, I think that's like, quote unquote, non-binary, and he gets his kid who says they are trans, so they are being socially transitioned on social media, and this kid is making all these shorts as a girl, right? My concern is this parent also has two other daughters who haven't questioned their gender. What time is he spending focusing on them? Because there are so many shorts of this trans kid out there. And I don't think that trans kid looks particularly happy either, actually, if you want me to be honest. I don't even think the kid is trans. I think that the kid just needs someone to talk to, away from the dad, an outsider. But I don't think that putting a trans minor in Doctor Who is good. And the reason why it's not good is because they're not addressing the issues surrounding transitioning children early. They're not addressing it, be it social transition or whatever, they're not addressing it. And the reason why they're not addressing it is because they're not a soap. And if they're not a soap, then leave it well off the screen. Fine, have a trans character. I don't care. That's absolutely fine. Don't parade around with the transitioning of minors is acceptable. And don't parade around with the trans activist lines. Don't appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, so you may abhorrently disagree with that. Absolutely fine. I don't even know if I made any coherent sense in the end. But I've said my piece. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Chat about it, don't chat about it. Thank you.